We kick off the story with a kid named Lloyd being mercilessly kicked out of his group of adventurers. And it's like this, my dudes, you might be wondering how we got here. So, to explain that, let's go back in time. And there, we see little Lloyd, jaw dropped, while a woman conjures fire in the palm of her hand. She tells him to do the same, or else he'll go without dinner. And with that, the young man tries his best to meet her expectations until sometime later, he comes back to the same woman, mentioning that constant dripping wears away a stone. In other words, he managed to conjure fire in his hand. And when he actually manages to produce flames, his tutor offers a rare compliment. But before he can enjoy the moment, she puts out his fire and sends a spell dozens of times stronger, smoking the poor dude out. According to her, he still has a long way to go. What a caring teacher. The next day, Lloyd stomps the ground hard, trying to make a new technique work. When nothing happens, his instructor decides to show him how it's done and rubs her foot, making water appear. Then, the persistent Lloyd copies her and manages to dampen the dirt too. However, as soon as he's praised again, Miss Faith in the Crazy Ones immediately bombards the guy with water, showing him how real magic works. On another day, the little guy almost bursts a vein and his underwear trying to manipulate the wind. And the teacher? Well, she sends him flying with a single breath. Is it over? Calm down, there's more. Because when snow covers the land, Lloyd decides it's time to practice with this new element, and in a proud and innocent way, he shows his master a snowman he made that looks just like her. And not one to break tradition, she uses the very same snowman to grab him and drop him from a considerable height, after magically making the snowman enormous. After digging himself out from under the pile of snow, Lloyd realizes he needs more power and vows to work even harder. Then there's the day his master is way past tipsy, after a few too many bottles. Nursing a monstrous hangover, she hears her apprentice ask if she's okay. She admits she's not at all. Lloyd, undeterred, places a hand on her forehead and prepares a healing spell. Feeling a bit better, the woman admits the boy's gotten pretty good at healing and gives him a rare, affectionate hug, at which our little protag is proud to have helped her. But there's no time to celebrate, she's already recovered and ready to get back to magic training. With that, the days fly by, and the young mage's training never lets up. On a certain night, the teacher seems troubled as she stares at a book in a box, and our protag then comes by and says dinner is ready, and the woman accidentally drops the book. Lloyd picks it up to hand it back, but as he does, he's struck by a magical reaction that almost fries the kid's processor. Realizing what happened, his master sees that he has the potential to become a chosen one too, so if that's his destiny, she swears she won't let him make the same mistakes she did by becoming overconfident with his skills. At that, she kisses the boy's forehead, leaving a blue mark behind. The scene changes, and the next day the instructor explains that a white mage is someone who uses magic for the benefit of others. And while she's talking, Lloyd regenerates a piece of fruit and earns a compliment, but his master immediately goes further, regenerating the whole tree and bringing it back to life with her healing magic. And this demonstration makes our protag express that his master is incredible. That night, she tells Lloyd that, according to what she's heard, some beastmen can use rare magic to control monsters. And Lloyd's curiosity is piqued by a mention of ancient magic in the book on the table, but the teacher's expression darkens, and she says he doesn't need to learn that it's just a type of magic that's been extinct for centuries. The next day, Lloyd conjures a staff, but his teacher thinks he's way too slow, then conjuring her own scepter and tripping the poor boy, making him fall. She explains that he needs to speed up and reminds him that, as inexperienced as he is, he must never get complacent with his training. Later, the two sit at the table to continue studying, and while he reads about the Magistone, his teacher explains that it's a crystallization of mana powerful enough to turn nearby things into other Magistones. And then the scene changes, and a few more days have passed. They went to a certain forest, and after arriving, the master takes off Lloyd's blindfold. With a wild beast lurking, the woman hands a knife to her apprentice and gives him the lowdown. His mission is to get home in a week. Basically, a fantasy version of Naked and Afraid, using only magic to survive. The moment she leaves him, Lloyd is attacked by a giant wolf. He runs, not caring if he looks like a coward. After escaping up a tree, he realizes he can't yet defeat monsters with a white mage's spells, so all he can do is keep running until he's strong enough to fight back. Looking around, he sees just how far from home he really is. At night, he regenerates a fruit to eat and hides in a cave. Drawing a magic circle on the ground, the young mage plans to tweak the design to channel more power and improve his skills. With the sunrise comes more hardship, as he has to cross a mountain, and this won't be an easy task. Night after night, he practices his magic circle, and also works on improving his detection magic, or else he could end up starving. And by combining two circles, he hopes to boost his running speed. One morning during his adventure, Lloyd accidentally steps on a branch and draws the attention of a hideous spider. And once again he bolts. And it's at this moment that he tests his newly improved speed circle, which actually works, allowing him to escape unharmed. Running flat out, Lloyd finally makes it back home but passes out before he can even knock on the door. His master soon finds him and welcomes her apprentice back. Then a few more days passed, and while tidying up a room, Lloyd, now with a noticeably more mature voice, stumbled upon a book that caught his eye. The cover was a painting of a city, and at that moment his master appeared, telling him to get back to cleaning, but he still asked to borrow the book. The next day, while Lloyd was sweeping, his master called him to help with a spell that could stop the aging process. At another time, she interrupted him while he was hanging laundry, asking for help with a healing spell. And while they were grubbing, the mage revealed she'd thought up a new enhancement magic. In other words, more work on the horizon. That night, when our protag was already begging for a break from exhaustion, his master mentioned she cast a spell on him so he wouldn't sleep for a week. That way, he wouldn't need to rest and could keep working, then offering him another potion to recover his vitality. And I confess, I'd love to have one of those so I wouldn't have to sleep and could pump out more videos for you guys. And after a long struggle, the moment of glory arrives, where he finally managed to get a moment to look at the book. The scene changes, and the next morning his master went to wake her student for more experiments, but his room was empty. She saw the book with the city on the cover and realized the connection. Meanwhile, he was on his way through the forest, heading straight for the city he saw on that book's cover. And once inside the walls, the mage wandered the plaza, dumbfounded, as he'd never seen so many people together. A man carrying boxes rushed past and cursed at Lloyd for being in the way, but all Lloyd could think was how amazing cities seemed. He traded his last coin for a loaf of bread, but just as he was about to eat, a gust of wind slapped a piece of paper against his face, while the person responsible vanished as soon as he saw his plan succeed, leaving Lloyd to read a flyer about adventurer recruitment. Some time later, far from there, inside a shadowy dungeon, a group of warriors fought a cyclops, and our protagonist was among them, jaw dropped at the intensity of the brawl. The team's leader shouted for Sheena to cast a healing spell, while Lloyd slammed his staff to the ground and summoned a magic circle that spread across the whole battlefield. And with that, the whole team is now buffed and ready to finish the beast off. First, the archer fires an arrow straight into the monster's eye. The Cyclops retaliates with a punch, but the team's tank steps in, blocking the blow, surprised at how much lighter the impact felt. At this, the sorceress casts a binding spell, wrapping the monster's arms and legs, giving their leader the perfect chance to finish the job with a powerful sword strike. And after their victory, the tank stared intently at Lloyd. When the group returned to the city, the whole team was greeted with cheers for defeating the Cyclops, but Alan, the hero, was by far the most celebrated. Later, when it came time to split the mission rewards, Lloyd received a much smaller share than the others. At that moment, Alan explained that this was what a D-rank member got, and the mage didn't complain. And well, with that settled, the leader called for a toast, but Lloyd made it clear he wasn't much of a drinker and wandered away. The team's which grumbles about his attitude, while Alan comments that any white mage could have done Lloyd's job. After all, white mages are useless in battle and are just there for show. Nothing like the classic prejudice against the support class, a real shame. But even with these words worthy of a total doofus, the tank is still silent, observing our protagonist. Meanwhile, back at Lloyd's master's house, she was visited by a man named Will, the guy who threw the flyer at our protag, bringing the news that her apprentice had been recruited by the heroes. She was happy and says she owes him one now, since this way the boy would get real training, but she's still worried he might become overconfident. Will asked if her regrets still haunted her, making her uncomfortable, but she promised herself she wouldn't repeat the mistakes of the past. Then Will recalled how, back then, the demon lord sacrificed himself trying to steal that grimoire, taking many others down with him. And at a crucial moment, Sybil's ancient magic brought everyone the demon lord killed back to life at the cost of her own. And dudes, either I'm crazy or the plot twist just hit hard, because at this moment the scene really suggested that this Sybil is actually our protagonist, who got younger and lost his memories. Damn, did anyone else get that, or is it just the narrator's excitement? Anyway, the scene changes, and at dawn, back in the city, a vendor was promoting a book about Alan's group's adventures. According to him, long ago in ancient times, this world was created by the creator, and legends said that the trials of the heroes were left behind, the national treasures of the sacred nation, the sacred swords, and one of the 4 heroes chosen by these swords was Alan. That's why all the monsters threatening the city had been defeated, and now, Alan's name echoed throughout the entire kingdom. Speaking of the city's great celebrity, Alan stumbled drunkenly into a room where the team's tank was reading a book. Worried because lately the blows to her shield had felt odd, Alan, unconcerned, said he felt stronger than ever. The girl pointed out that he hadn't been training much lately, and Alan just shrugged, figuring there was no need, since he was naturally much stronger than anyone else. Meanwhile, by a stream, 2 soldiers stood guard until they were slaughtered by a giant creature. The next day, Alan was informed that the border guards had been killed. The messenger explained that the area was also a route for smugglers, so it was urgent to protect the soldiers assigned there. And full of bravado, Alan insisted that taking down a few golems would be a piece of cake. Eager for action, he rallied his team and followed Lloyd, who used his search magic to guide them to a cave where Alan finished off a golem with a decisive strike. But then, an enemy sorcerer summoned a new golem, and Lloyd quickly noticed the sorcerer was a demon, as the black stone on his staff was a magistone. The tank assumes the mage is using that stone to control the golems, while Lloyd casts a magic circle to strengthen his allies. As soon as he's done, he tells the archer to shoot the mage. After that, the white mage orders the witch to hand over her staff, and as soon as she does, the enemy mage seals the scepter. Furious, Alan makes it clear who's really in charge, saying he's eager to end the fight. But Lloyd warns him that without the magistone controlling the golem, the creature's movements become completely unpredictable, making any battle extremely dangerous. Alan ignores the warning and charges straight at the giant, forcing Lloyd to rush over and push the leader out of harm's way just in time. Annoyed, Alan yells at the kid to get out of his way, and then delivers a sword strike that brings the stone creature crashing down. With the mission over, we return to the opening scene, where the party leader decides to kick Lloyd out, accusing Lloyd of always hiding behind the others and leaving all the healing to Sheena. In other words, Lloyd isn't just useless, he's also a burden to the team. And I'm just thinking that I can't wait to see this bastard's face when he realizes he's a total nobody without our protagonist by his side. Hanging his head, the outcast admits he still lacks strength, to which Alan just laughs and tells the white mage to get lost. 3 days later, Lloyd is searching for a new group. After another failed attempt, an archer tells him they already have a white mage on their team. With each rejection, Lloyd's frustration only grows, and his luck seems to have run out. Then, suddenly, he hears a girl shouting at the guild receptionist, demanding a white mage now. The moment the staff member points to Lloyd, the adventurer runs toward him as if she's just found a treasure chest and grabs him by the arm. And with our protag being basically kidnapped by an unhinged adventurer is how the episode ends. So, what did you guys think of this whole injustice with Lloyd? And what do you think this new adventurer wants with him? Let me know in the comments what you thought of this premiere. Smash that like and hype button to support the video, and subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the rest of this story.